fasten our gaze upon a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus, and we're supposed to worship this. But no, when you open the Bible, when you go into history, you realize that Jesus wasn't white, he wasn't a European, he was one of us. This wasn't just about race, it was about dignity. Malcolm understood that the image you worship shapes your identity. And for too long, Black people had been taught to worship a God who looked nothing like them, to see themselves as cursed, sinful, second class in both life and theology. But when Jesus is Black, when he comes from Africa, speaks like the poor, challenges empires, everything shifts. Suddenly, you're not following the religion of your oppressor, you're following the faith of your ancestors. The Jesus who speaks your language, who walks your path, who bears your skin. And that is power. That is liberation. That is why Malcolm never stopped speaking of Black divinity. Haile Selassie, the living prophecy. Across the Atlantic in the highlands of Ethiopia, another figure emerged, one seen by millions as the embodiment of ancient prophecy. Haile Selassie, I, Emperor of Ethiopia, crowned in 1930 as the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, and conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. These weren't empty titles. They were rooted in scripture. Ethiopian tradition traces its royal bloodline back to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The story goes that their son Menelik Thorish carried the Ark of the Covenant from Jerusalem to Ethiopia, where it remains hidden to this day. So when Haile Selassie was crowned, it wasn't just political, it was prophetic. To the Rastafari movement, which began in Jamaica among poor, oppressed descendants of enslaved Africans, Haile Selassie was more than a man. He was the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. He represented a return to Black kingship, Black holiness, Black messiahship. They read scriptures like Psalm 68:31, princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. They saw in him the living answer. And in a world dominated by white images of God, they reclaimed the truth that Africa was not cursed. It was chosen. Haile Selassie, though not claiming divinity for himself, never denied the sacred role Ethiopia played. He preserved the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. He protected the ancient canon. He ensured the scrolls were never touched by Vatican politics. And in doing so, he preserved the memory of a Black Messiah. Bob Marley, the prophet with a guitar. Then came Bob Marley, the global voice of spiritual resistance. With dreadlocks like Samson, lyrics like Isaiah, and a heart like David Marley, sang the ancient